Features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Just reassuring each other after that. Watch the lioness coming now, just from the right-hand side. And now she's having a drink, basically under your foot. What a fantastic way to start a day. So this is the full Nkuhuma Pride, 5 lionesses, 8 cubs, and that male part of a coalition called the Birmingham Boys. And there are 4 of them. If you listen very carefully, you might just be able to hear the lapping of the tongues. Perfect start to the morning. The cub going up to the male. That's unusual. Don't see that all the time. Often they're a bit nervous of the males. He's now, if you watch him, he's doing what we call a frem and grimace. He's trying to tell if the female is ready to mate or not. And all the little ones going up to say hello, but you can see they're a little reticent. That's very sweet. Just killed 2 buffalo yesterday, so they're probably quite thirsty. And that male doesn't, it's that female there that's causing him his angst. He doesn't like her being around. And the one on the ground in front of him you can see lying in sort of supplication. Her ears flat. He does not want her to move, and he doesn't want her distracted by the rest of the pride. Anyone trying to distract her is going to get themselves into trouble. All the while these lionesses drink muddy water just below and to the left. Oh, it's just wonderful watching the males play with the little cubs like that. Just careful of this lioness in front of us, everybody. She's looking into your eyes. Brilliant. Kill it now. Brilliant. Oh, not yet. Hang on.
Oh, we're in the show now.
The sun is just about to peep up over the eastern horizon now. You can see it slowly getting brighter, the light turning gold. In the background, we can hear a special bird called a ground hornbill calling.
Alright everyone, not sure if James actually has comms at the moment, or what's going on there, but fantastic that he found the pride. So good morning, my name is Byron, and on camera is Dave with me this morning. It's lovely to have all of you again on Safari Live. It's a nice cool morning, and we are in search of leopards. So we are looking for Karula, a female leopard. For those of you who are new viewers, a beautiful female leopard who has got 2 cubs at the moment. And we heard somebody caught a glimpse of her last night in this area. Not entirely sure which direction she went, but that's what we're looking for today. And it is a beautiful morning, 23 degrees Celsius, about 73 degrees Fahrenheit. So nice and cool. Have a look at these male Impala here quickly, everyone. Let's see if they fight. It's interesting. It's not mating season or rutting season, but the males seem to be. We saw some males earlier this morning that were also fighting. Testing each other. They are beautiful antelope, aren't they? Look at those males. They appear to be in quite good condition. A little hungry, actually. You can see they are a little thin, so they hopefully with some more rain there'll be more food around. However, this area that we are in, and we are situated in the northeastern part of South Africa, in the Greater Kruger National Park, and more closely situated in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, and we are on Djuma. And it is so funny. Now, the Sabi Sands is about 60,000 hectares, so roughly around 130,000 acres of land. And it is all open to the... Sorry, everyone, just listening. I can hear Impala snorting, but it's actually males fighting. And you can hear the difference because they're moving around quite quickly, and it's just a very short snort, not a proper alarm call. So as I was saying, within this Sabi Sands area, it is all open to the Greater Kruger, so the animals can move freely wherever they want. But this section that we are on at the moment, for some reason, has got quite a lot of rainfall recently, more so than others. So it is looking a lot greener here than it is 10 miles south, which is very, very interesting. All right, I believe that James' comms are back up, so let's cross over to him. He's with the lions, and let's chat to James a little bit.
Oh, hang on a second, I'm just going to move. Hello everybody, I do apologise for my reticence. I'll tell you what happened earlier. It was I didn't plug my earpiece in, which is very stupid. There's quite a lot of kind of anger going on here. I'm just going to back up slightly. I don't want to be quite in this line of fire. And what's going on is that the male is being very irritated by the females, mainly because he's trying to mate with the one he's following over there. And he's just, every time she goes near any of the others, he gets really upset and he starts chasing them. And then the cubs scatter and the lionesses scatter, and it's all action here. So good morning. I'm sorry I didn't greet you earlier. I didn't know what was going on, and it was entirely my fault. I apologise profusely. My name is James. Brian's on camera. Hello, Brian.
Hi, James.
How are you on Saturday?
No, I'm good.
There's the Saturday thumb, everybody, and here we are with the full Nkuhuma Pride, 5 lionesses, 8 little cubs, and of course 1 male lion who's trying to mate with a female who's probably not quite in full estrus yet. Now they're just kind of calling to each other. And what you did was tell us, everyone, of course, that there were lions on the dam wall. So we came down here, just the male and the female. Then as we got here at about 10 to 5, the rest of them came wandering out of the bushes to the western side of where we are. And I think they did that. They've come from Arathusa last night. And there's a great deal of playing, which is wonderful. That's just great. There's the one with the floppy ear, I think, isn't it? Trying still to suckle. Now, everyone, I have to tell you, I'm slightly disappointed in myself, but I think that I've only... I can't remember exactly how old they are. I think we're looking at 6 months. It must be almost 6 months, the biggest ones, and then 5 months, probably plus minus, and then maybe 4 months after that. I don't know, it might be slightly younger than that, say 5, 4 and 3. Does anybody remember exactly when they were born? I think the teddies were born in July, if I'm not mistaken, so August, September, which would put them at 3 months. The teddies being the 3 youngest. And the other 2 were about 3 weeks after that, before that. So that would put them just older, about a month older. Now let's go with 3, 4 and 5, unless anybody can remember otherwise. It's quite astounding how we forget these things. Now you can of course talk to us through the course of the morning. Hashtag Safari Live, questions at WildEarthTV. The confusion this morning was caused by, firstly, my idiocy And secondly, they were standing right next to us, of course, which you saw. And so we just fired up that VR rig thing on the front of the car just to try and get one of those virtual reality shots. But no matter, here we are. I hope you'll forgive me. I hope the directors in the final control will forgive me. I might not be allowed home today, Brian.
No, me neither.
You not, definitely not you. It's a most gorgeous morning after what was a hot and sticky and itchy night, I must say. But here we are in the coolth of the dawn. Sun not yet quite popped over the eastern horizon. And we have a magnificent lion sighting. It's a teddy chasing down a cousin. And of course we must just quickly mention that there is this state of this interesting state of mange that the little ones have. There you can see it on the elbows of that one there. And I don't think they're looking too weak. Oof, dear. Now Kevin, as we see that, you say you think a male killed a cub. Kevin, no, don't worry. A male didn't kill the cubs. We've got all 8 here. I tell you what, though, when we did get here, I thought that there were only 7. And then a lioness emerged with the other one a little bit later. But if you count them, they're all here. Let me just do it for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, hang on, I'm sure we saw 8. We did see 8, didn't we? Yes. Oh, there's one in the bushes there. There are 8. So they're all here, Kevin. Fear not. That male has been pretty vicious, and I watched some amazing footage yesterday, but I don't know who got it. But it was, it was someone here. But it was a male pulling a cub off a carcass. Was it you, Brian? There's some elephants screaming there.
No.
And it was a buffalo carcass. The male was eating on the bottom of the jaw, and one of the cubs was sort of lying on the carcass trying to get into the skin underneath, and the male got irritated, swatted him once, and the cub didn't move. The male actually retaliated, at least the cub retaliated. The male then grabbed the cub, stuck his claws into that kind of skin behind the head, and pulled the cub off the carcass and tossed it to the ground. The cub, undaunted, then tried to swat the male in the face. So they really are already very tough little creatures. Brian, should we try for that eye-level view again? Or are you happy here?
No, it's fine.
Now I'm just going to move down here. Right, okay, Liz, thank you very much for that. You say the oldest of these cubs was born mid-June and the youngest mid-July. So there's only a month between them. So the oldest ones, as we head to mid-November, July, August, September, October, November, will be 5 months. So that was correct. 5 months, 4.5 months, and 4 months. Thank you very much for that, Liz. We'll remember that. Middle of June, they're only 2 weeks apart then each litter. Middle of June, middle of July. And we always quite like these eye-level views because it gives you kind of a interesting impression of the lions. Okay, we're not going anywhere, but Byron has managed to spot a great ball of hydrogen gas and nuclear explosions on the eastern horizon.
Yes, James. Sounds something like what happened to you this morning with your opening. But we do have a beautiful sunrise, everyone. Magnificent sunrise. Look at those wispy clouds and that ball of fire in the distance on the horizon. So I think we will have to give James a little slap on the wrist this morning, because I understand that he didn't do the opening correctly, and that is just not done, James. Isn't that wonderful? Very, very peaceful. Can hear a white-browed scrub robin calling, a Cape turtle dove. There's a lovely cool breeze blowing at the moment too. Little long-billed crombeck gave a little call now. All in the distance, but wonderful to hear the sounds and see what's going on around us at the moment. So we haven't had any sign of the leopards yet, everyone, but it's still early, so I'm hoping that what we're going to do is we're going to drive around and head back down towards the drainage line and towards Philemon's cut line, which we believe is where the leopards were seen yesterday evening. One vehicle on their way back, I think, managed to spot her very, very quickly. So hopefully we do find her. I'm not sure where she has gone or where she's disappeared to. Also, we don't know if she's got a kill. And that could be even harder to find, because if she's got a kill, she's possibly taken the cubs there. And it may be well hidden, so not easy to see them or find them. But I'm not sure. Let's see. And the whole time I'm driving, constantly having a look out for tracks. And we're going to continue. So glad you could enjoy that sunrise with us. And let's head back to James and those little cubs.
Now, we're back again, everybody. This time I did hear it. I do apologize again for my recalcitrance earlier. But here we are. Magnificent, magnificent sighting. I'm just listening to Aubrey at the moment. He's found some leopard tracks. And I'm just going to ask Kirsty to ask Byron to get hold of him on the radio, if you wouldn't mind, Kirsten. Now, unfortunately, Brian, there seems to be some litter here that the that little cub has picked up, and it's a piece of piping that was pulled out of the ground by one of the elephants. Byron, sorry, hold on a sec, everybody. Byron, please get hold of Aubrey. He's got leopard tracks for you. Now that pipe, of course, feeds the Djuma Dam pan, or it used to. I think it's a piece of disused piping. Anyway, it won't do any harm. It just looks a bit odd, really. Now, if we look at the back there, amber eyes and the male are awake. Oh, this is my best. It's my best when the cubs go towards the males. Now, which male are we looking at there? Is that Tinyo and Soko? It's definitely not Mfumo, who's got a hole in his face. Isn't that equal sign across the nose there? It is. Which will change, of course. Now, for those of you who've missed it, our 4 Birmingham boys, they're named Tinyo, the tooth, and Suku, the yellow one, Nana, the warrior, and Mfumo, the authority. This is wonderful to see. Now, the male being a lot more tolerant. You can see there the eyes of our favourite lioness, amber eyes. That is her, isn't it? And the 2 little cubs just below us here, trying to suckle. And of course they will all suckle. They will all still be suckling, because they only wean when they're 6 months old. So there will still be a lot of attempts to drink milk. This is rather marvellous, I must say. Hello, Melinda. Interesting update from you, and thank you very much for it, because I think it's quite crucial that information like this gets through to us. You say you saw lions mating on the dam cam, and afterwards they rolled around. And you say, does that mean it was successful? It often does, you know. It often means that the female has that there has been a successful coupling, not to put too fine a point on it. And when she rolls around like that, it generally means that things have done what they're supposed to. So yes, quite possibly. But if this is amber eyes, which I'm pretty sure it is, given the color of her eyes, I'm surprised. Look at him spraying there. I'm surprised that she's still mating, because she's been in a kind of what we call proto-estrus or estrus before estrus for so long now, and I would have thought she'd be pregnant by now. And so if she's mating again, I think it's quite interesting, because the youngster, the very young one, was mating with Mfumo, or he was attempting to mate with her the other day. So that is quite, yeah. I think it's quite a good thing, though, that the two of them are, you know, they put it off for a little while, just in case this mange thing is A, caused by the dryness, and B, continues to infect the pride, because if it does, we don't want new cubs here yet. We want the pride to get over it before we get any new cubs in the area. So I'm not too sad that Amber Eyes is very clearly not pregnant yet. But where the other male is, I don't know. We did hear him calling off to the east earlier this morning. And it's an interesting one from William, and an answer that I'm just not sure that we'll ever be able to completely answer. You say, do I think the males know the difference between their own cubs, their biological cubs, and those that aren't there? So, but would he know the difference between his cubs and his brothers? I'm going to say, I really don't know. We know that, for example, the Matimbas, it was normally the hairy-bellied male, the bigger male, that used to mate with the females. But of course, the what would we call the other one again? It was hairy belly and, goodness gracious. Anyway, the other one with the red hair. Blondie. He was called Blondie. That's Blondie. We didn't see mating, or I certainly didn't, you know, by the time I'd got here. But he played a very affectionate role with the cubs. Now, did he have any idea that they weren't his? Well, he hadn't mated, so I think it's likely that he didn't know. But didn't make him any less affectionate. And of course, he was related, we think, to the hairy belly Matimba. And so, in effect, he is still looking after his own genetic line, albeit not quite as strongly as a lion that has mated. So, I'm going to say no, I don't think they know the difference. I think they will look after the cubs within their own pride, and they're not particularly concerned about whether or not they are theirs. I might be entirely wrong, though. Now, I think we're staring down the barrel of a pretty hot day today. Kirsten, what is their weather report? Because I don't think these lions are going to do a great deal from here. That said, they have been killing buffalo at an alarming rate. If you happen to be a buffalo, that is. And we're looking at 37 degrees Celsius or 99 degrees Fahrenheit, apparently. So it's going to be very hot. And I don't think they're going to move much from here. I think they're going to go down into the drainage line. I think they'll lie in the shade. And that's all they're going to do, unless a buffalo comes wandering past, in which case they will almost certainly kill it. Now, this pride is really, he's been amazingly successful. Jeremiah, I've seen lions eat some amazing things. You say, well, what is the strangest thing I've ever seen one eat? Well, I've seen them eat human clothing before. That's quite interesting to watch. I think we had an incident the other day where someone dropped a hat in a lion sighting, and that was devoured and played with, certainly. I think I've seen lions eating other lion dung, which is quite disgusting. But the very strangest thing I've seen, of course, is a lion eating his brother. And his brother died of natural causes, and he then ate him. So that was the strangest thing I've ever seen happen. Something has arrested this cub's attention. I don't know what it is. There was some mating going on there. That's what that noise was. Now, I would have said that was not a successful mating or coupling as they go down into the shade. Let's move around the top here, and then we'll head down into the... to see if we couldn't perhaps spot what had arrested that cub's attention. Like a leopard, perhaps. There doesn't seem to be anything. We'll just drive along here and see where those lions are going. Now, they're all still messing around over there, so let's go back again. Let's go back to where we were. Sorry, everybody. I just thought we might see a different angle. Oh, now, another one. Follow-on from William. Do I think the lionesses can tell their own offspring? Yeah, I think they can. Why do I think that? I have no reason to say that, but I'm going to say yes. I think they can probably tell their own offspring. But, you know, they do obviously do completely cross-suckle, which means that there's not a huge amount of worry whether they are there or aren't their own cubs. But these guys must know the difference because they're all different sizes. I might be totally wrong, though, William. I'm not sure. It'd be very difficult to tell, I think. It would be very difficult to find out if they knew. I'd love to be interesting to kind of design an experiment. So let's pretend you had lions in a laboratory conditions, as we say. And would they be able to tell the difference between their own cubs and their sister's cubs? And how would you be able to tell that? What kind of test could you put in place? Now, why don't you try and come up with an experiment, everybody? A thought experiment. Hashtag Safari Live question to WildEarthTV. Now, Brian, off there we've got ground hornbills flying, a huge number of them. Gee whiskers, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Seven. That's really very cool. That's a massive flock. That's high for a ground hornbill. They're not particularly adept flyers. Isn't that wonderful, everybody? That is the great skill of Brian Joubert, the thumb. Very nice, Brian. They are landing. Looks like around Ingwe Alley. Very awkward flying. Marvellous. Right, now everything seems to have calmed down at the lions. This is not unusual. After after an evening of activity. And it's always, you know, it's quite interesting. We've been discussing, Graham and I, the other day about when lions are most active. And we were trying to find kind of a, I mean, you'd think we'd know after all this time out here, but it's really not that easy to figure it out because we don't see them at night a great deal. You know, we pack it up and go home as soon as it gets dark. And from what we can find, it would seem that the most active time for lions, of course, we know straight after sunset they get going and then they hunt for a while, but also just before dawn, just before the sun comes up, probably for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. They call if they're being territorial, they hunt if they're hungry, and they play if they're youngsters. And you can see as the sun came up here, they all calmed down. So for about half an hour before you came live, I suspect they were moving between Arathusa and exactly where they are now. And as that sun popped over the horizon, things have calmed down completely. And I think there's going to be a substantial amount of slumber going on here. It is the weekend, though, after all, Brian. We don't want them to sort of stress themselves out. Shall we try and drive down the spillway here and see if we can't get a shot? The sand might be quite soft, but I think it's probably hardened enough in the sun over the last few days. Now, Whitney, you're saying if they wouldn't take in an orphaned cub, surely they must know their own cubs. Whitney, I think that they certainly know the cubs from the Pride, but do they know their own cubs? So, do they know their own cubs from their sisters' cubs? I'm not convinced that they do. Absolutely, they know the cubs in the Pride, for sure. We're now eye level with this little mangy fellow. Yeah, and Mindwarp, you make a very good point. You say you reckon they probably could tell the cubs apart because they did spend a month alone with them, and so they must have some kind of familial smell. Yeah, I think that's logical. And certainly that would be, to me, the obvious way for them to be told by their mothers, by some kind of smell. This poor little thing's still scratching away at his mange. Not ideal, really. The time will tell. They're eating plenty, so they have the best possible chance of getting over this disease. Shamrock, haven't heard from you for a while. Wonderful to hear from you. It's obviously Saturday, so I know you used to watch this show at work, which of course is an excellent idea. Shamrock, a question that I do not know the answer to, I'm afraid. I'm not insufficiently medically trained. But you say, is it possible that if an adult got over the disease and had the antibodies to fight it off, would they pass that on to their cubs? I imagine that they would, you know. I really don't know for sure, but I imagine that the presence of the antibodies in the mother's blood must surely get into the fetus. This thing does not look healthy, does it, Brian? It's looking, well, mangy and also breathing unevenly, but that's because its belly is so full of buffalo. And that, of course, is going to be its best defense against the mange. Good meals, home-cooked meals, care from the Pride, and a healthy dose of luck. Right, let's go and find out if Byron has managed to find any tracks of the Queen. In the meantime, I'm going to sit here for a little while longer, and then once everything's settled down, we'll go and find something else.
So we don't have tracks of the leopard yet. We've had a look around. One of the other guides did say he saw tracks of what appeared to be Karula and her 2 cubs, but they've headed, sounds like southwest and possibly across our boundary, unfortunately. But I'm heading into that area just to double check. Maybe she is still hanging around in a block somewhere. We're not far from the main road now, so let's have a look and just see. It's very difficult unless you've got time to get onto fresh tracks and walk and track carefully. To follow a leopard it's not easy. You know, you could get lucky and bump into them walking around, but ideally the best way to find these animals is to get the fresh tracks, start walking on them and follow, and then hopefully find out where they are. Times like this, I wish I had my friend Judas with me. And Judas is a tracker, he's been tracking for 30 years. And him and I would find many, many leopards purely because of his tracking skills. He really had a sixth sense about the bush. So I also just want to scan very carefully while we're driving around. I'm going to drive quite slowly along this main road. Did you see some tracks? Hang on, yeah, there we go. Yeah, there are tracks right here. Okay, everyone, let me just have a look. Here are some tracks. Stay with me for a second. Let me just let me try see if I can find some tracks to show you that are clear. The nice thing about leopards occasionally is they do like to walk along the roads because it's a large pathway that makes it easy for them to move around. Okay, so I saw tracks coming there. Okay, everyone, here's a beautiful leopard track right here and heading in this direction, so heading away from, but let me just have a look. Oh, this is interesting. Everyone, this looks very interesting. This is not Karula. This is a male leopard that has walked here. It looks like to me. The track is much, much larger than a female track. And also it's by itself. I don't see, there are no tracks of cubs or anything here. So this is a male leopard that's moved through this area, probably this morning sometime. The tracks do look good. Is this some Mbambili or is this Arathusa? Actually, not sure. I'll have to try and find out quickly and just have a look. But that is the thing with these big male leopards is they cover huge distances very, very quickly, and especially in the evenings or early mornings, they can move very, very far. I think what I'm going to do, everyone, is I'm just going to drive down this road a little bit and just see if we can work out where these tracks go. Maybe we're lucky, who knows? They have been walking all the way down the road, and Dave might even be able to see the tracks on that side of the road. You can still see them there. Yep. So let's have a look. See, it looks like they're still going that way. Yeah. Isn't this exciting? This is just what I was talking about, to be able to find fresh leopard tracks and see which direction they go. Wendy, you wanted to know, are clouded leopards in the same family as the leopards here in Africa? And Wendy, they're also part of the Panthera family. and they are leopard species, but obviously a subspecies, a different species of leopard. But they are indeed. Scanning, looking very, very carefully here. But as I said, you know, a leopard like this that's moving around, marking territory, could possibly be quite far already. Can you still see tracks there, Dave? Alright, let me just jump off here again, everyone. See, the whole time while we're tracking also we've got to scan very, very carefully, because there could be something in the bushes around here. I'm just going to have a look back here again. I don't see any tracks going that way. This is interesting, everyone. These tracks seem to have disappeared on us for a brief moment, and that's what happens. Occasionally these leopards cross into these blocks, and a block, we call it a block, it's an area of bush that is between the roads. So it could possibly be that he's moved through there. Maybe he was hunting. That could be one of the reasons. He saw something and decided to try and look for cover and move through the thickets. I'm going to check back here, Dave, I think. All right, everyone, we're going to have a good look around here. Just make sure we know, or just try to find out which direction that leopard's gone. It is exciting, but while I do that, let's head back to James and see what the lions are up to.
The lions are doing very little, everybody, and so we're going to just spend another 5 or 10 minutes with them, and then we're going to head off and see what else this Guy Fawkes Day has to offer us. I've forgotten about that. Do you remember that, Brian?
I do.
It's Guy Fawkes.
Oh, completely forgot.
Yes, the day Mr. Guy Fawkes tried to explode the Parliament. I think of, was it King Charles II?
I'm not too sure.
One of the royal Stuarts, of course, and apparently a complete imbecile. Which is sad, because he was a Scottish king. It's also Scott Dyson's birthday, which is, for those of you who remember Scott, you'll join us in wishing him a happy, happy Safari Live birthday. He's in Kenya and he's guiding at the moment, which will make him very happy. It's absolute peace now. We've got doves calling in the background. Jim, you say the loud birds, I think they're the doves I've just mentioned. They're going, which is the ring-necked dove, or the Cape turtle dove it used to be known as. Oh, deeply fatigued. We're going to do one, let me go a little bit forward and we can have one last eye-level view. And then I think we're into the law of diminishing returns, as they say. And by that I just mean that I think we've got to the point at which, well, you know, staying here is not going to enhance our impression of these lions. And if you do hear what sounds like the dim crackle of rifle fire, fear not, we're not under attack. It is that the photographic vehicle in front of us is firing off on auto motor drive. I do feel a little intimidated when I see that vehicle, Brian.
Me too.
Now, something's up. What are they looking at? Well, like I said, there was a male calling behind earlier this morning. I don't think that's what's going on here. Maybe it's an Impala or something that's thinking about coming down for a drink. Might be a buffalo thinking about coming down for a drink. In which case, if Taylor was here, these lions would almost certainly kill it within seconds.
on the eyes. Look at the Giraffe. One lying down over there. Very, very tight. 400.
Beautiful, beautiful morning. Soon to turn into a deeply hot day. Kristen, I think people often wonder about this, especially in winter when it's cold and especially when you see little cubs. You say, is the lion's hair rough or smooth? It's smoothish. I haven't felt the cub's hair. I've felt an adult lion who had recently shaken off this mortal coil. I felt her hair, and it's I'm trying to think where I felt it, but it's actually, you know what it feels like. I don't know if you felt a horse with a summer coat on, so a big animal like that. It feels very similar to that. So completely unlike a sort of a cat's hair or a dog's hair. I suppose a very short-haired dog. Yeah, like a staffy or something like that. Hair feels very similar to that. It's not any harder than that. I've always wanted to feel the belly hair of a leopard, though. That always looks like the softest possible hair. But of course, to lay your head onto the belly of a big wild cat is to invite, well, I'd say a couple of scars to the face, wouldn't you, Brian? Yes. So, no, I've never felt it. But it would be quite something. There's another dove calling very gently, also called a laughing dove. I wonder what she's looking at. I don't know what this cub's looking at. Now, we had some incident this morning where the lions were running all around the car. They were getting quite nervous of the male who was chasing them. And Wendy, you're wondering if I ever have the temptation to reach out and touch one as they go past the car. Yes, funnily enough, I have had that sort of feeling before of wanting to reach out. It's a little bit like vertigo, where, you know, if you get vertigo, you feel like you should throw yourself off a high cliff, or you feel like jumping when you know you shouldn't. And that is a little bit like the feeling you get when a lion comes close by. You want to stick your hand out and say hi. But the temptation has never been that strong. It has, however, Wendy, been very strong when we go past buffalo. And the temptation to slap one on the backside as you go past is overwhelming. Now, for some reason up here in the north, we don't seem to get close enough to the buffalo to do that. But down south at Londolozi one day, we were driving along, and it wasn't only me that felt this temptation, clearly. Johnson, a substantial tracker, was sitting on the front, and we were driving through a herd of buffalo, and I was telling the guests about something or other, and I heard this mighty thwack. And Johnson had slapped one of the buffalo on the backside, and he thought it was hilarious. The buffalo didn't know what had hit her, and she went trotting off into the herd, sort of with a grunt and a burp, and Johnson was paralytic with laughter for most of the rest of the drive. But I absolutely have that temptation. But Wendy, you mustn't go slapping wild animals, please. It's not a good idea. All right, everyone, I think we're going to press on from here, don't you, Brian? We'll come back a little bit later and see what's going on, see if they haven't killed a buffalo or two. And if any buffalo come anywhere near the Djuma Dam Cam, everybody, just keep an eye on it, because it will be worth coming back to see what these cubs do. Before we move out, and you've noticed why that the soil here is very pale. and you want to know why that is the case. And it's granite based. Normally when it's white like this, there's a lot of sodium in the soil. That's what causes a lot of the sodic areas, and the sodic areas are caused by sodium ions, if you like. I don't know how much you remember of your high school chemistry, but basically sodium in solution. So if you put salt in water and mix it up, it goes into solution, and that's what happens down the slope. So when rain falls on the soil, it puts the sodium into solution, and that what it does is it creates a situation where the clay doesn't stick together anymore, and if you want to know the term for that, it's called flocculate, and the clay then comes sliding slowly over the years down the slope. So at the top of the slope you get sand with the sandy marula crest, and as you get towards the drainage lines, which is what we're on now, you get a situation where all the clay and all of the sodium builds up over hundreds of years. It's moved under the action of gravity and water into these areas, and that's why if you get close by to the big drainage lines here, the soil tends to be a lot paler, a lot whiter. There's a lot more sodium in it. You get things like quarry bushes, huge quarry thickets. You get some of the red thorn trees, the acacias. You get jacket plums, and you get a very specific suite or set of grasses that like to grow in the soil. But that's why, in a long-winded way, the soil is paler than it might be. Right, Brian, I'm about to fall asleep. Let's carry on. These lions are so soporific. In the meantime, let's head across to Byron and get an update from him. I'm going to head off towards Beefles Hook Dam.
So unfortunately, still no sign of the leopard, and those tracks cut off into quite a thick area. But what I've done is I've looped around to see if we can't see tracks coming out, which is usually what happens. But I don't see anything. We may have missed the track somewhere. Let's have a good look around here. When you get to these junctions in roads, it's a good spot to have a look for leopard tracks, or any tracks for that matter. We haven't had any luck. I was chatting to Dave, and it's a bit difficult for us because obviously we can't get off and go and track for half an hour and leave you alone. So it is hard for us to be able to track the animals, because you do have to be very, very careful when tracking animals. You've got to spend a lot of time searching very carefully. And you know what? I'm still, and I think James shares this opinion with me, in that for us to drive around and try to track and find animals, it's incredibly difficult, and I doubt there are people that can do it very, very well, unless you have been a tracker before, perhaps. Because I do think we probably miss out on so much. There's nothing there. These brakes are squeaking this morning, waking us up. MC Chef, I believe, was who sent in the question. You want to know how is it that we keep the roads clear or clean? So there is road maintenance that goes on, and what they do occasionally is they drag, the tractors will come out and they'll maintain the roads, and what they do, they've got this contraption with, it's basically tires, which they just drag behind the vehicle, and or behind the tractor, and as they drag it, it just smooths the roads out a little bit, and that's done every now and then, especially after the rains, just to maintain the roads, excuse me, and that we don't get soil erosion or erosion off the road. So there is maintenance that happens on the roads, but we don't actually do it. It's usually the landowners that do it. So no luck just yet, everyone, but that's how it goes sometimes. You can track and look for leopards and try and find them and track for hours and not find anything, and then all of a sudden you come around a corner and there's a leopard in the road. It happens like that regularly. I'll never forget, on a number of occasions I've been tracking, looking for animals, and we end up tracking for 2 hours and literally don't even find Impala, never mind anything else. And the bush can happen like that. You have these times where you're searching, you're looking very, very carefully, but it just doesn't go your way. But then later the bush kind of pays back and you do find stuff. Morning, everyone. Morning. And I do think patience and perseverance in the bush pays off. A lot of Impala basically in the distance. You can just see these little brown dots in between the trees. There's some off to our left, a little bit closer over here. The sun's getting quite bright now. I just saw something interesting. There's some buffalo tracks around. And what did I see here? Oh. Let me show you something, everybody. Just quickly want to show you little tracks before we head back to James. Can you see these little tracks off to the side here, Dave? Yeah, those ones. Oh, great. Let me just show you this quickly, everyone. So we are tracking obviously leopards or whatever we can find, but look at these beautiful little tracks over here that we've just seen. And this is actually from an African civet that has probably been moving around during the course of the evening, moved all the way along the road. And I say during the evening because they are nocturnal. So this is from an African civet that has walked through here. Some people think they're part of the cat family. They're not. They're not cats at all. They're in their own family. I think they're part of Viveridae, if I'm not mistaken. I think Viveridae, I'll double check later. But while we continue tracking and having a look around, let's head to James. He's got something really long, tall, and beautiful that he'd like to show you.
It's gone. There it goes. You might just be able to see a little shadow walking through there. Unfortunately, Byron wanted to show you the civet track, so I'm afraid the beautiful giraffe we had for you is now no longer visible. I do apologise for that. Right, on we go, Brian. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I've lost my lens cap, everybody. Something of a disaster. I lose it at least 6 times a day. I'm sure I'll find it again. Hello, Earl. You're wondering about the long-term future of the Sabi sand and whether it will become like the Bill, as in William. Right. Bill, sorry, not Earl. You say, will it become like the Sahara Desert eventually? Here comes this giraffe. Bill, I don't believe it will ever become like the Sahara Desert. Will it change? Absolutely. Under what action will it change? I don't know. So let's pretend that human beings got a virus that wiped us all out within, say, 10 years. And there wasn't a human being left in this area. Then what would it look like in the long term, so after 1,000 years or so, or 200 years. I think what you'd find is that it would open up. I think the number of elephants would grow. I think there would be a huge amount of movement of animals to and from the mountains. I think the old migration patterns would reassert themselves, and I think it would open up. I don't believe that it would ever become a desert without some major climatic change. And climatic change, Bill, would only come about through, because I've chased all the humans away with a virus. It would be some kind of a geologic or seismic climatic change, the same as which, like an ice age, for example, because the Sahara Desert, of course, used to be a sea. It used to be a very fertile area. Up until about 15,000 years ago. That was perfect timing from that hornbill, wasn't it, Brian? So I think if climate stayed relatively stable, the place wouldn't change much. The number of animals, I think, would increase. The number of species would increase because the artificial water would be taken away. So that's what would happen here. In the actual long term, of course, I'm going to go forward. I think there's something else in the bush here. In the actual long term, Bill, I think what you'll find is that humans, of course, are not going to go anywhere from the area. And so we will continue to put artificial water into the place. But I think to try and predict the future with humans involved is almost impossible. I think for the foreseeable future it will look very much like it does now. But that's a very interesting question. There are some elephants, Brian, that's what I heard crashing through the bushes. A great bevy of elephants. Do you see them, Brian? Is this an acceptable position, or should I go forward? We'll do for now. A beautiful herd of elephants enjoying their breakfast, which is the same meal as they had for lunch and supper and tea and midnight snack last night. Leaves. Now she's got a very classically square skull. It's very typical of an elephant cow. You will not see an elephant bull with a skull that square. That's really quite interesting to see. They always tell you that, of course, you can tell the difference between a bull and a cow from the roundness or squareness of the forehead, but often it's not as clear-cut as that. She's obviously got quite a large frontal cortex, I imagine. So she's probably quite clever. It's going to be hot today. I can just feel the first effects of the sun coming up now. We're going to batten down the hatches as soon as breakfast is over. I think we'll all pile into the final control and huddle under the air conditioner. Kirsten will probably chase us out though. Here comes a young bull towards us. Not a young bull at all, is it, Brian? No. Because a much easier way of telling is what Brian's showing you now. Very clear mammary glands that give them really almost disturbingly humanoid feature, I find. It always reminds me how very much like us they are. Not in physically, of course, they're quite a lot bigger than us, Brian. I've met one or two people the size of an elephant, but very few. And I always just find, oh, here she comes, that their behavior, the way they behave, is almost predictable from a human point of view. They're very defensive of their youngsters. The young bulls behave just like teenage boys. The young cows behave just like teenage girls. The babies behave just like human children in a creche. There are a whole lot coming now. What she's doing is just making sure that everyone who comes across the road is safe. She's stopped to check us out. Now she's indicated to the others that it's fine for them to come across the road. This little one, just with its tusks erupting, probably almost 2 years old. It's not Benji, is it? No. You can see the light burnt out already, and it's not yet 7 o'clock in the morning. Everyone, I would move forward so that you can get sort of slightly less into the light, but I'm afraid there are now elephants all sides of us, so we're going to stay right here. Here comes the first cow we saw with a very square head, with her little youngster. And they're just talking to each other. That, I just must reiterate, is not what it sounds like to them. There are frequencies that we don't hear, and obviously our little larynxes are completely unable to make. So although it might sound like you're talking to an elephant when you go, the elephant just thinks you're being an idiot. I think that's a bull, Brian.
Yes.
From the rounded head.
Yes. And the length of his tail.
The length of his tail, yes.
Yes.
Good. There's another cow to the left, Brian, who's checking us out there. Hello, Matthew. Another lovely question that I'm afraid I don't know the answer to. Do elephants ever bite their tongues, you say? I'm trying to think of the shape of an elephant's tongue. You know, I think an elephant's tongue doesn't stick out like ours does, Matthew. Now, she's not too happy with us. She's just saying, stay right there. Opened her ears out, not particularly pleased to see us. She's not the oldest cow, and so perhaps she's just a little bit inexperienced. Can you see how predictable that is, everyone? It's just like a human being walking, you know, coming across someone they don't know and kind of standing up dead straight, posturing, going stiff. It's exactly the same kind of thing. Matthew, I'm going to say I don't think they bite their tongues. So you bite your tongue probably sometimes, like I bite mine, and Brian every so often bites his, don't you, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a horrible feeling.
It's terrible.
But it's because we have a long tongue and we move it around a lot in our mouths, and we have to be able to move it around in our mouths to speak. And so it's an adaptation to being able to speak, I think, that gives us this long floppy tongue that sits in between our teeth. Whereas an elephant's tongue is much shorter and sits in the mouth in between the teeth, and I don't think they bite them. I imagine a giraffe probably bites its long tongue every so often. Good. Right, well, I'm going to sneak slightly forward. Most of the elephants have gone across the road. Oh dear, there goes a tree. Oh dear. The tree just bit the dust there, everybody. Deborah, armchair traveller. We were talking about the shapes of male and female heads earlier. And that cow there, you can see, it's got a squarish head, but not as square as the first one we saw. And you want to know why it is that they should have different foreheads. Why are the males round? Why are the females square? I don't know. No, I'm going to guess. Okay, there are two possibilities, and I think the first one is more likely. I think that the males are probably adapted like that to bashing their heads against each other. So I think you'll probably find that the rounder shape minimizes the injury. There's probably a thicker covering of sort of absorptive material on the top of the skull, and that probably allows them to, you know, I mean, they do fight quite angrily sometimes, and I think that probably protects the brain. The second possible reason, I suppose, could be that the females do actually have a slightly different brain structure, and that is possible. And maybe the brain structure allows them they're far greater sociality. They certainly apparently have a far greater range of vocal communication skills than the males do. That again is very similar to our human species, where males speak to each other in grunts and signals, and women have conversations. Not so, Brian?
Very true, James.
It has actually been proven that I think, and this was a while back, so it's probably changed by now, but male elephants make, I think they make something like, say, well, it's roughly 20 sounds, only 3 of which are unique to bull elephants. Female elephants make about 40 sounds, say, and 28 or so of those are unique to the females. So they're much more communicative. Right, from this elephant's bottom, we're going to go to Buffelshoek Dam, and let's head across to Byron, another bee, and he's got a Nyala.
We have indeed got an Nyala. I've got a baby Nyala, everyone. Look at this little, beautiful little Nyala. It's just hiding behind some branches there a little bit. Hang on. Let me see if I can move forward. Oh. There we go. Look at that. It's a whole big group here. There's a lot of females. But then this little Nyala, oh, look at that. There's some adults behind it. There's a big female. They really are wandering through the bush at the moment, trying to hide from us. Even though it's not that thick here, but there are lots of little sticks in our way. Very, very peaceful. There's some Impala in the distance, in the background. Probably won't be able to see them, but a lot of Nyala around. Look at that beautiful bushy tail on that female. And you can see the white stripes very clearly on the body. There was a young male. He was, I'm not sure where he has gone now. I think he's just off to the left there. And he's just through the... a little bit to the right, Dave, I think. There he is. He's just through there. There we go. A bit tricky, but you can see he is slightly darker. He's going through that transition phase where he's going to be changing the coat or his coloration. It will go much, much darker grey as opposed to this reddish brown of the females. I just want to see if I can't get another view of them quickly. It's because they are so beautiful. Hang on, everyone. And you can see the difference. Oh, there we go. There's the male. See, it's a young male. He will still get bigger and he will still get darker. But look at the difference between him and those females. Amazing. Those females with that beautiful reddish-brown coloration. It was nice to see that young Nyala. Very, very special. And then they've just moved off again. Anyway, just before, well, when I left you earlier, we saw tracks of a civet. And I'm sure some of you might be thinking, what does a civet look like? So let me just show you quickly. I've got my book out, and that is the African civet. Looks almost badger-like, mixed with a cat a little bit, but as I said, they're in a different family completely. They are in the family called Viveridae, and the civets and the genets, these little creatures. Let me just show you quickly. These little creatures, the little genets, which are also nocturnal, also appear cat-like, but they are not part of the cat family at all. All in the Viveridae family. So it's a separate family completely. Interesting. So we saw tracks of the civet. We didn't find the civet, unfortunately. But they are mainly nocturnal, so probably moving around during the course of the evening. And we have had no no sign of any predators yet, not on my side. James was the lucky one this morning with the lions. But it's still early, it's still very early. It's only about 6:15 our time. So it's still early, and we could still get animals moving around. Shannon, you want to know why the males are darker than the females. I have no idea, Shannon. I don't know if there's a specific reason, other than it's just the sexual dimorphism between the male and female in Nyala. I don't know if there's a specific reason for it. And if anybody else has heard a theory or has a theory on it, I'd be very interested to know. But it's I just think that, you know, with all these antelope species, the males tend to be a bit bigger and generally have bigger horns. They look more impressive than the females, and all of that is to attract the females. So I think it's purely from an attraction point of view for those males when they display too. You know, we spoke about it the other day, and James and I did our Nyala dances. But the males, what they do is they cause that hair on their back to stand up, and they do this beautiful dance and display to basically intimidate one another and then to attract a female. So I think that would be the only reason. I don't know of any other reason, Shannon. Sure. Safari Dean, you'd like me to find some cheetah chop. Well, that would be wonderful. I wish it was that easy. Okay, we need to find something interesting now. It's time, so let's see. Keep your eyes peeled, Dave. A lot of birds around, a lot of doves, and there was some starlings flying around. Lovely to see all the bird life here. I've really enjoyed the birding over the last 2 or 3 weeks. 2 weeks. Still got another week of Safari Live, which is great. So I'm here till next week Wednesday, and then a short break, only a little, about a week break. And after that, hang on. Oh, these breaks. Seen an interesting bird, everyone. Let's just have a look, just on the water's edge there. Can you see it there? It's just walked away from the water. What is this? I've got a feeling it's a sandpiper. I'm just going to look with my binoculars. It is indeed a wood sandpiper, everyone. Very beautiful bird. And have a look. Look at this interesting behavior. It bobs its tail up and down. Often it'll stand, and do you see that? There we go. Doing a little dance. Maybe James and I will have to do a wood sandpiper dance off. See if we can move like that. I doubt James will be very happy with me suggesting it. I've got a feeling he'd be quite good at it. I think because anyway. So that's a nice bird to see, a different bird species, a wood sandpiper. And it's interesting that it's around this little mud wallow. Most likely a lot of insects that it is feeding on. So perfect little spot. Look how it's wading through there. Those beautiful reflection. Look at that. Wow. Get some lovely photographs now. And there's some Cape turtle doves calling in the distance. Work harder, work harder. And I'm trying to work harder to find a leopard this morning. But it is also just so wonderful to experience every little bit of nature. It doesn't matter from these little birds to the antelope. And things happen when you start appreciating the smaller things. I do think it's very, very important that you enjoy every facet of nature, not just the big cats or the elephant or the buffalo. There's so much out here. And I constantly see things that I've never seen before, little insects, and still see a bird species now and then that I haven't seen before. Melinda, you asked why some of the bird species, or quite a few bird species, bob their heads while they're walking. And I don't know. I really don't know if there's a specific reason. It's an interesting question, Melinda. I'm not sure. I've never read anything on that. And again, I also think, is there a correct answer for that? Or are there just theories? Because how do we really know? What is the reason the sandpiper walks around and bobs its tail? What is the reason another bird walks around and bobs its head? I'm not sure. Other than maybe it helps them move, or it's part of their movement while they're walking. I have absolutely no idea. Don, you're saying something interesting. You think that it's for them to gauge or see distance because their eyes are on the side of their heads. But I wonder, how does that... I'm trying to work it out. How does that help them then? It's interesting. I've no idea. But Don, that's a very interesting answer, and it sounds plausible. But I just don't understand how bobbing the head would help see the distance, other than, I don't know. You've stumped me this morning. I don't know. Perhaps we can ask James. I'm not sure if he knows. We'll ask him shortly. This is the area that Karula was in yesterday. Yesterday morning we saw her tracks around here, and I think somebody from a neighboring property found her just south of this spot. And then apparently they walked across again, but they have crossed out of our territory or our little concession. It happens. These animals like leopards, and that have very large territories, and when they are walking around or patrolling them, they can cover huge distances in one evening. And even for a female who's got between a 5 or 10k territory, the radius of territory, that's more than, that's quite a large part of Djuma. So she'd definitely move through very quickly to get onto the neighboring property where the rest of her territory is. Matthew, speaking about territories, you want to know, are the territories, or do some animals' territories overlap? They definitely overlap in certain areas, and even with leopards, there'll be areas. Now they do defend their territories, and they get quite aggressive if they bump into other leopards within their territory. But they they will definitely overlap slightly. So if you've got two territories, you'll have one or two that overlap slightly. And usually it'll be around water holes because they need water. So sorry, I've just seen something here, everyone, but these look like lion tracks. I think looks like there's some more on that side. Is it? Yeah, so lion tracks. Just want to double check. Yeah, it looks like lioness tracks from last night sometime. I'm curious. So Matthew, so the territories do overlap slightly, and especially at water holes because they need to share the water holes, but they do defend them against one another. That's just for leopard. Then if you have lion prides, their territories overlap definitely. Some of the other species of animals like the elephant and that, they're not territorial, so they'll move all over. Some of the antelope species that are territorial, they may defend their territories, but they'll be very close to others, and their territories could also overlap. But I would say the territorial animals that we would think of and that defend their territories and don't want other animals coming in would be lion and leopard, for example. They would defend it, they would look after that territory, and because success for a lot of these animals is having a big territory. So those animals do defend them, but they will definitely overlap in certain areas. Some hyena tracks, everyone. Now, we've seen the hyena tracks, we just haven't seen a hyena for a very long time. But there are, almost daily, there are hyena tracks around on the roads. But still no sign of them. I think because of all the lions around, it's possibly keeping the hyena off Djuma at the moment, for the moment. But I'm sure at some point they'll come through again. Anyway, let's head back to James, get an update from him, see what he is up to, and maybe he's got an answer for you on that why birds bob their heads.
We're trying to find some European bee-eaters. There you go. Of course, the ultimate skill of Brian Jubert and his thumb, doing an excellent job. And they're like little fighter planes. Very difficult to follow. And that's why you're staring at blue sky at the moment. But there, we'll get you another one. You see the way their wings are designed? And they've got these amazing forked tails that they can use to grab insects out of the air. So they're picking up insects with those sharp beaks from the air. And they look like little fighter jets to me. Isn't that nice? There one goes into the sun. That's gorgeous, Brian. Gorgeous. They're heading towards Beefleshoek Dam, maybe, which is where we are going to go. Now, while we watch that bird, that is an astounding picture of a bird in flight. Isn't that gorgeous? Gee whiz. Wow. What was the question? Byron said he was going to ask me something or something. I didn't quite get it. Oh, I think I've been asked the same thing before, and I don't think I was able to answer it. You say, why do birds bob their heads while they walk? I think birds bob their heads while they walk for the same reason that a giraffe moves its head when it walks and a horse moves its head when it walks. They've got longer necks, more vertebra in the neck, or not more vertebra in the neck, but longer vertebra. And it's just every time they move, then their heads move. But except a bird stops dead still and goes and wags its tail. I don't know, I'm afraid. Maybe it's got something to do with judging distance. I've just got confirmation there from Kirsten that one of you agrees with me that it is to do with trying to judge distance. So we know that a monkey, for example, will look like this to try and pick out the exact distance, and birds will do the same. If they're sitting in trees, they will often move their heads like that just to pick up distance, because it moves their head slightly. I think that's probably exactly what it is, because it moves their head slightly, which means it changes the focal distance, and so it gives you a better 3D perception. And of course, if you're a bird that is pecking things off the ground, small things, or pecking things out of water, I think maybe it really does help to bob the head just to get a better binocular perspective. Good, let's go with that. We'll decide that that is exactly what the answer is, and no one will tell us otherwise, will they, Brian? No. Right, we are approaching Beevilleshoek Dam now. Are you ready, everybody? Put on your snorkels and your flippers and your diving equipment. Have you been diving, Brian?
I have.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I've even done a shark dive.
Brian,
I know.
it's very brave of you. Brian's done a shark dive, everybody.
It was really exciting.
But I mean, you are bigger than most sharks, so I'm sure they were quite afraid of you. Here we are at the dam. Dustin, I will answer your question now, or Justin. I'm afraid the comms are not good enough for me to hear which it is. Ah, Dustin with a D. You're wondering, when we get back to camp, do the cameramen talk non-stop, because they don't talk much on the drives? You'll find, Dustin, that the cameramen are not generally that vociferous. Brian says a few things when we get home. David hasn't spoken since he was 4 years old. VM speaks sometimes, but we're not sure what language it is. Genre does. Genre yaks away quite a lot when we get back to camp. And Eggsy, a bit like David. We're sort of a mixture between David and VM. He sometimes speaks, but completely incomprehensibly. Would you say that's accurate, Brian?
Yeah, 100%.
I'd say.
Yeah.
What you got to watch out for, though, when you get back to camp, Dustin, is the directors. Gosh, they can yak the hind leg off a donkey. So there, of course, is, I'm being facetious and nasty, they don't talk too much at all. There is the bachelor of Beevilleshoek, Bob, and there's another wood sandpiper just to the left and down, Brian. I think it's a wood sandpiper bobbing its head, judging distance.